Laman sir, he has to put, yeah.
Ashutosh,
Yes, sir.
you're ready?
Yes, sir. I'm ready, sir.
Okay. Now we'll ask for Pranesh. Pranesh?
Yeah, he's put it on recording. It's
Yes,
already
sir.
on
We can start, sir.
Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have a topic, ensuring continuity. I hope this means it is not just going a journey to set a goal, but how you can consistently keep on moving towards your goal. It's a privilege to introduce one of my former students, who is presently my colleague too, Dr. Ashutosh Acharya, who is working as assistant professor, physical education in Lakshmibai National College of Physical Education, Thiruvananthapuram. He is the alumni of one of the eminent colleges of physical education in India. He has his doctorate degree from Lakshmibai National Institute of Physical Education, Gwalior. He has the distinction of holding first rank in MP and BP from University of Kerala, Trivandrum. He is a recipient of Junior Research Fellowship and Senior Research Fellowship awarded by University Grant Commission for Higher Studies. And Dr. Ashutosh have published more than 10 research articles in journals of national and international repute. He was a life member of Sports Psychology Association of India, and on various academic front, he have visited a number of foreign countries so far. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome Dr. Ashutosh Acharya to go ahead with his presentation on ensuring continuity. Ashutosh, please.
Hello, Ashutosh.
Welcome to the panelists also. Anything to add, Sujit?
Yeah, no, it's okay. I was just trying to check whether he is good to
I
go.
think he got stuck.
I think his screen is frozen.
Yeah, his screen is frozen.
So let me. So while you can
Yeah.
talk on the subject,
Okay.
I think this is a very interesting topic today. So this is for all the participants. I think it's a very interesting topic today because there's a lot of dropout in sports also. So I think he's going to talk about all of that, as in why it is important to continue playing sports. So that's what Dr. Ashutosh is going to talk about. And I think there are a lot of questions, as in when boys and girls are in their 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, that time, and in fact, what you talked about, that sports as a lifelong activity. Ashutosh, are you back? Participants is a little bit of a technical issue, so we're just trying to. Hello, Ashutosh. Sandeep sir, maybe you can just check. Is he? Sandeep sir is there?
He's presenting from Orissa, so I think there's.
Yes, sir. I'm back. Sir, here the internet connection is.
So Lamun sir, why don't you present it?
little
He can, Ashutosh? Lamun sir, what I can do is I can give you the control, and you can actually present it while you can talk from there.
Sir, shall we start, sir?
Ashutosh, your voice is. Let me just talk to him, Lamun sir. Let me just talk to him. I'll tell you. So meanwhile, I'm just sharing the presentation with you so that you can run it for him. 1 second.
Dear participants, bear with us. There's a slight technical problem. As our presenter is going to present it from Orissa, I think there's a slight network problem. We're fixing the situation. I hope you'll be able to do it at the earliest possible. Please bear with us.
Lamlun sir, I have shared the presentation with you so that you can share it on screen while I'm just talking to him. So you can just open your Gmail probably.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
I'm just talking to him. Ashutosh, can you call me?
Hello.
Sandeep sir,
Sir, you have sent that PP to me also, PPT?
let me just send it to you also, sir.
Okay, I will share that one, sir, now, sir.
Okay, I'm
Give
just
me a
sending.
few seconds, I will share it, yes.
It is actually there with you, but it is already there with you, sir.
Okay, okay, sir.
But I can share again, sir.
Give me 1 minute, that it will be ready, sir.
Yeah. Otherwise, if he has any problem, Sandeep sir, maybe you can just start and then he can join in.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Ashutosh? Hello, Ashutosh?
Right. Is it visible, sir, for you?
Yes, sir. Sir, अगर उनका problem हो रहा है ना तो आप initially start कीजिए so that he can join. I'm talking to him. Okay. I'm trying to talk to him. You can probably just so संजीव सर, मैंने बात कर लिया उनसे। संजीव सर, संजीव सर,
हाँ
Yes, sir.
सर मैंने उनसे बात कर लिया है, तो आप स्लाइड को चेंज करते रहना, वो फिर प्रेजेंट कर लेंगे, ठीक है?
Okay.
अगर कुछ दिक्कत आएगा तो आप उस समय आप उसको सीमलेसली बात करते रहिए, ताकि वो उसमें ये कर ले।
ठीक है sir. Okay. Okay, sir. You can talk on this.
Ashutosh, can you hear us? Hello, Ashutosh.
Hello, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible. Yes.
Yes, sir. I can hear you, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, absolutely. So do it this way only. So he will change the slides and then you can talk.
No problem. Now
Yeah.
you keep your arrow, sir.
Yeah.
Change it. This is second slide. Yeah. Plus, sir. Proceed.
सर ये नीचे स्लाइडर को मत यूज कीजिए, यू कैन जस्ट यूज योर ये कीबोर्ड का जो माउस ये है ना, लेफ्ट एंड राइट की है, उसमें यूज कीजिए, क्योंकि ये थोड़ा डिस्ट्रैक्शन होता है स्क्रीन में, जो ये स्लाइडर को मत यूज कीजिए।
This is it.
ओके
Sir, शुरू करें, sir. Shall we start? sir?
Yes, sir. Please.
यस
You leave it.
Okay, at the very outset, I would like to say sorry because due to some technical problem,
no problem,
I wasn't able
no problem.
to take the class on time. So today the topic of discussion is ensuring continuity in sports. So you must be knowing, regardless of your sport, the mind is the most important piece of equipment that you will ever take with you when you are going for any kind of competition in any kind of games and sports. After spending months of time trying to improve your skills by focusing on your physical abilities, then your technical abilities and tactical skills, that improvement, ultimately what happens, after you have given so much of time to your games and sports, there is a time, when after even doing so much of training, your performance come to standstill. I mean, there is no improvement नहीं आता है. तो तभी क्या होता है, improving your mental preparation can go a long way with you helping progress psychologically in areas that do not come naturally. That means, this basically in this session today, ensuring continuity in sports, we are going to basically discuss about what are the psychological skills or psychological aspects of an athlete that we need to focus on in order to improve the performance further, or in order to take our athlete to a next level. So basically we'll be discussing about 4 things today. First one is your motivation. Next slide, please. Yeah, so here it is, like what happens here, in first first thing that we are going to discuss about today is motivation. So motivation को समझने के लिए first what you have to do is we have to understand motivational process. Motivational process क्या होता है, सबसे पहले हमें ये समझना पड़ेगा. Motivational process होता है कि ये सबसे पहले generate होता है when there is an unsatisfied need. तो हमारे बीच जब अनसेटिस्फाइड कोई नीड, कुछ चीज के लिए जब हमें जो एक नीड आता है, दैट गिव्स राइज टू टेंशन. और वो टेंशन मतलब बॉडी में थोड़ा जो मूवमेंट क्रिएट करता है. जैसे कि फॉर एन एग्जांपल, आई कैन गिव यू एन एग्जांपल. जब हमें भूख लगता है, तो वहां पे नीड क्या होता है, व्हाट इज द नीड देन? द नीड देन इज फूड. तो व्हाट हैपेंस व्हेन वी नीड फूड, व्हेन वी आर हंग्री, we that there is a lot of physical and physiological there is a lot of physiological changes happening in our body. So that gives rise to drives. Then what happens, search behaviors means jab hame bhook lagta hai, when we are hungry, we need food, and that's why we search for food. We go to hotels, we go to restaurants, maybe we start cooking some foods. To kya hota hai, those things are search behaviors. So whenever we have a need and we do certain kind of behaviors, and ultimately what happens, we achieve that need. That is need satisfaction or satisfied the need or satisfied need. So this is the procedure of motivational process. That is, first thing is there is a need for something and or there is a lack of something, and then what happens, that gives rise to different kind of tension and drives in our body, and thereby we behave in certain different ways, and when our need is satisfied, then we search for another motivation. Next slide, please. So motivation is nothing but it is actually the main force or the main the epicenter of our behavior. This motivation is the force which directs our behavior towards the goal, right? As I told you in the previous slide, whenever there is a need, need gives rise to a motivation, need gives rise to your behavior, and thereby giving giving direction to your behavior, and that is what is called as your motivation. So again, motivation are of three different types. Normally आप अगर कोई बुक्स में देखेंगे तो नॉर्मली होता है कि क्या होता है कि एक्सट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन होते हैं और इंट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन होते हैं, बट दिस actually motivations are of three different types. First one is motivation, second one is extrinsic motivation, third one is intrinsic motivation. Now let us try to understand these three different kind of motivation separately. Okay, so the first one that we are going to study about is a motivation. A motivation is a behavior that will not be present because there is no point in trying or it is impossible to succeed. So this kind of motivation, you might have seen some people, you might have seen some students or maybe your trainees who are not actually interested in the physical activity, or they have no reason to participate in physical activity or whatever activities they are doing, right? If you ask them why you are doing it or what is the reason behind it, they may not be able to answer. So that is that kind of motivation, but still they are doing. So that kind of motivation is called as a motivation, wherein they do not have any particular reason for participating any games and sports, right? So the source of motivation of this motivation is not known. So for an example, I have mentioned here, I will not join the gym because I do not have any time to exercise. I will not join the gym because I do not want to exercise, right? So then now we'll move on to the extrinsic motivation. The extrinsic motivation, see, let us first try to understand the meaning of the word extrinsic. Extrinsic means the reason, anything beyond or outside your body. So when you are doing certain kind of activity or when you are behaving in a particular way to achieve something, which is not inside your body, that is called as extrinsic motivation. Or when your behaviors or your motivation or your all the physical activities are guided by something which is not inside your body or some external force, then that kind of motivation will be called as your extrinsic motivation. उस motivation उसको हम extrinsic motivation बोलते हैं. जब हम कोई भी activity करते हैं या कोई भी sports games या sports खेलते हैं जिसका कि reason, उसके पीछे जो reason है हम क्यों game खेलते हैं, जो उसका जो reason है वो कोई एक बाहरी रीजन के लिए हम प्रैक्टिस करते हैं. जैसे कि फॉर एन एग्जांपल, टू अचीव ए मेडल, दैट्स एन एक्सट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन. टू अचीव ए सर्टिफिकेट, दैट्स एन एक्सट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन. टू अचीव प्राइज मनी, दैट्स एन एक्सट्रिंसिक मोटिवेशन. क्योंकि जो रीजन है फॉर पार्टिसिपेटिंग इन दिस काइंड ऑफ फिजिकल एक्टिविटी, दैट इज नॉट इनसाइड आवर बॉडी. That is something which is external, which is pulling us, guiding our behavior towards it. That is what is called as your extrinsic motivation. The behavior will be present for external reasons, right? Or because it is important or of value. Then comes your intrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation is nothing but just the opposite of your extrinsic motivation, but wherein this kind of motivation guide this kind of motivation organizes certain kind of behavior in an individual, which those activities are done for self-satisfaction, or he has a reason for his own. The reason is lying within himself, और उसके नीचे उसके अंदर वो फिजिकल एक्टिविटी या स्पोर्ट्स जो भी कर रहा है उसका जो रीजन है, जो मेन इंटेंशन बिहाइंड इट इज लाइंग विदिन दैट पर्सन्स mind or within that person's within that individual. So the behavior is for internal reasons such as interest, pleasure, enjoyment or satisfaction. Now for an example, there are many people, when early morning when I get up, I see around 50 or hundreds of people, they are going for morning walk. They go for walking, they go for jogging. But if you ask them why they are doing it, but most probably, I'm sure most probably almost like more than 90% of people will be saying that they are doing it just for satisfaction. They are doing it just to maintain their physical fitness, or they feel good, right? So those kind of motivation, wherein the reason of doing certain kind of physical activity lies within us or inside us, is called as your intrinsic motivation, right? So now you might have understood different kind of motivation, that is intrinsic, extrinsic, and motivation. Now this is very important for the school physical education teachers and for the community coaches. Most of the time I get questions that, okay, we have understood what is motivation, but how do we motivate our students, how do we motivate our athletes? Now we are going to learn what are the different techniques, or what are the criteria or guidelines that we need to keep in mind when we are trying to motivate our athletes or motivate our students. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are the five guidelines I have given here. I have mentioned here. These are the five guidelines which you can follow to build motivation among your students. What is the first guideline? Is consider both situations and traits in motivating people. Right? Normally, what happens? We as physical education teachers or maybe the coaches, what we do is we normally do not give consideration to the traits of motivation. Or a person who is you may be finding out some kind of students or some students in your schools or some trainees, so far as coaches are concerned, they will be motivated always to do anything. So we should not always go for your situation specific motivation, but for a better motivating our student in a better way, we need to give consideration to both situation as well as the traits. Right? Motivations may change over time, so you should continue to monitor people's motives for participation even months after they have begun. Then second guideline is understand people's multiple motives for involvement. You need to understand, you need to find out what are the reasons. Not only one most important reason, but you have to find out what are the different reasons that the different reasons for participation of sports. Why your trainee or why your student is participating in different kinds of physical activities. You need to find out that. Then the third guideline is change the environment to enhance the motivation. So this one, I have seen, if you when you are when you are training your athletes continuously for months together, giving them some kind of very high intensity workout, medium intensity, low intensity, when you go on when you become very strict on your training methods or on your training programs, what happens? The training becomes monotonous, right? And the child, especially in the young age, if the training becomes monotonous, then your trainee will or your athlete will lose interest. So that's why what you have to do is you have to take care, you have to change the environment. Sometimes you have to take help of the recreational activities, sometimes competitions, sometimes training. So your complete training has to be a mixture or a blend of all these activities all together. Sometimes it has to be recreational, sometimes competitive, and sometimes it has to be training for achievement in sports performance. Next thing is influence motivation. This is a very important thing for most of the physical education teachers, because you have to be a source of motivation for your students, right? So I remember I had a coach when I was doing my bachelor's and master's in Lakshmi Bai National College of Physical Education. We had a coach in athletics, Sri Pinto J. Ribello. So we were very much influenced. I as a student was very much influenced by him, right? Why? Because he was never though he was my coach, but he was never a very what to say, he was never very authoritative. He always made us feel that he is one among us, right? So what you have to do is you have to influence your students, and thereby you can motivate them in a great way. And the last guideline is use behavior modification to change undesirable participant motives. Use behavioral modification technique to change undesirable motives and strengthen weak motives. Next slide, please. Yeah. So now we have in the previous slides, what we have learned is we have learned the motivational process, how the motivation begins, and we understood what are the different kinds of motivation. Then we learned about what are the five different guidelines for motivating your athlete or for motivating your students. Now we'll move on to the another important aspect of your sports psychology, that is goal setting, right? Now, before we go about goal setting, let us find out what is the importance of setting a goal in games and sports. Goal setting influences your performance, by directing athletes' attention towards relevant tasks and increasing persistence in the face of obstacles. Now, the importance of goal setting is like, if you focus on those two facts which I have mentioned below, that fact 1 and fact 2, you will understand how much importance this goal setting is having in games and sports. The first one is, do you know that 80% of studies, or the studies means research studies that is published through 2007, indicated that goal setting facilitated improved motor performance. So what happens when goal setting is very much important, because that gives you direction, or that will tell you where to go. What you have to achieve when you are doing so many activities, when you are doing so tough training, when you are training very tough, so there has to be a goal, there has to be an objective. So when you set the goals and objective, that will prevent you, going here and there, and that rather that will streamline your training, that will streamline your progress, and thereby, you will be so much focused and having attention and concentration, and you will improve in your sports performance. And the fact is, goal setting is a common strategy among the most elite athletes. Did you know that goal setting is one of the most commonly used mental training techniques of Olympic champions? So these are the 2 points, which should justify the why we need to set goals in games and sports. Next slide, please. Okay, now there are 3 different types of goals. First one is your process goal, second one is performance goal, third one is outcome goal. So process goals means, suppose for an example, let me just first explain you what is process goal. So the process itself means, what are the standards you need to achieve, or what are the milestones you need to achieve in order to achieve your maximum. आप जो सबसे बड़ा परफॉर्मेंस क्या है, जैसे कि आप अगर मुझे पूछोगे कि what do you want to achieve in sports, तो मैं बोलूंगा कि I want to represent my country in the game of discus throw or maybe in shot put, जो भी आपका इवेंट होगा. बट वहां पहुंचने के लिए, जैसे कि मेरा जो ऑप्टिमम, जो मेरा टॉप मोस्ट एम एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव है, वहां पहुंचने के लिए मुझे क्या क्या करना पड़ेगा, हाउ डू आई प्रोसीड अबाउट इट. जैसे कि पहले मुझे अच्छे से ट्रेनिंग करना पड़ेगा, मेरा स्किल डेवलप करना पड़ेगा, मेरा स्ट्रेंथ डेवलप करना पड़ेगा. आई नीड टू अचीव मेडल्स एंड इन स्टेट लेवल, फर्स्ट डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल, देन स्टेट, देन नेशनल. तो ये जो छोटे छोटे हैं, सबसे बड़ा एम में पहुंचने के लिए जो छोटे छोटे गोल्स को मुझे अचीव करना पड़ेगा, जो छोटे छोटे ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को मुझे अचीव करना पड़ेगा, उसको हम बोलते हैं प्रोसेस गोल्स. ठीक है, तो आप देखिए अभी डेफिनेशन क्या लिखा है ऑन द लेफ्ट हैंड साइड. द डेफिनेशन लिखा है, प्रोसेस गोल्स फोकस ऑन लर्निंग द स्किल्स एंड टेक्निक्स नेसेसरी टू अकम्प्लिश ए गोल. तो जो सबसे ऑप्टिमम गोल होता है, उसको अचीव करने के लिए जो छोटे छोटे गोल्स एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव्स को अचीव करना जरूरी होता है, उसको हम बोलते हैं प्रोसेस गोल. जैसे कि फॉर एन एग्जांपल, हमारे जो फिजिकल एजुकेशन टीचर्स हैं जो ये कोर्स अटेंड कर रहे हैं, यू माइट बी नोइंग, जैसे कि आपको एक साल में आपके बच्चे को आपको नेशनल में भेजना रहता है. तो नेशनल, व्हेन यू आर प्रिपेयरिंग योर एथलीट फॉर नेशनल कंपटीशन, सो यू हैव टू टेक केयर ऑफ सर्टेन एस्पेक्ट्स. सो वो जो छोटे छोटे एस्पेक्ट्स हैं जिसको आप अचीव करके चलते हैं, so that you can achieve the ultimate aim of sending your athlete for national participation, उसको हम बोलते हैं process goals. Performance goals are related to execution during the game time. परफॉर्मेंस गोल्स का मतलब क्या है, आप ये जो छोटे छोटे प्रोसेस गोल को अचीव करते चलते हैं, when you go on achieving all these process goals, ultimately what happens, you during the competition, you have to give the performance, right? So when you have set up a goal or an objective for yourself, that in this particular competition, for an example, if you are a long jumper, then you may fix up a goal for yourself that in this competition I am going to give my performance, let's say 7 meters, right? So when you are fixing up your goals or your objectives in a competition, right, that is now becomes your performance goal. So now we have understood process goal, we have understood performance goal. Now we'll move on to the outcome goal. Outcome goals are the desired finish line in the goal setting. I told you, what is your ultimate goal? Your ultimate goal is to achieve something. Like for me, my ultimate goal is I want to participate in Olympics. So in Olympics, how far I am able to achieve that objective, or what will be my performance in the Olympics, that will be my outcome goals. So there are 3 different goals. First one is process goal, second one is performance goal, and the third one is your outcome goal. Next slide, please. Okay, again, if you remember when we were learning about motivation, I told you in motivation में सबसे बड़ा problem है, बहुत सारे टीचर ऐसा बोलते हैं कि सर हम तो motivation क्या है हमें पता चल गया, but we need to understand how to motivate our athletes. So similarly, goal setting में भी क्या होता है, goal setting क्या है सबको समझ में आ गया. गोल सेटिंग कितने तरीके के होते हैं, there are 3 different types of goal setting. But when it comes to how to motivate our athletes, or how to set goals for our athletes, there are different principles, or there are different guiding principles which can help our physical education teachers or maybe coaches so that they can set goals for their athlete. The first and most important, the point of the principle of goal setting is set specific goals. The goals that you are setting for your athlete has to be very specific. आप अगर गोल सेट कर रहे हैं, जैसे कि आप अगर एथलीट के लिए, जैसे कि फिजिकल एजुकेशन टीचर कोई स्कूल स्टूडेंट के लिए गोल सेट कर रहे हैं, तो अगर आप ऐसा बोलते हैं कि ठीक है, हमें कंपटीशन में हमें इस साल एक नेशनल कंपटीशन में पार्टिसिपेट करना है. नहीं, no, this is a very vague goal. Actually, you have to be very specific. You have to say that, okay, this year we have to come in first 6 positions in the state level, or maybe first 3 positions in the state level. Then when we are selected for the national competitions, we have to come in the we have to get a place in the first 6 positions. So this is how you have to help your athlete to set specific goals. And then the next principle is set moderately difficult but realistic goals. This is a very important point, because I do understand that there are many physical education teachers on whom there is a lot of pressure to send the teams to achieve the medals. So what happens, you should set a goal for your athlete in such a manner that is, it is difficult, it is moderately difficult, and at the same time it is realistic. Like for an example, now if my coach sets a goal for me that you will be achieving a gold medal in discus throw in Olympics, no, that's not possible for me. That's not this is literally impossible, right? So when you are setting goals for your athletes, it has to be moderately difficult, and at the same time realistic, means it is achievable. You should understand, you should realize the ability of your athlete, and on the basis of the ability of your athlete, you should fix up a goal. Second point is that long and short term goals. I told you in the earlier slides also. And then next guideline is set performance and process as well as outcome goals. We have just learned in the previous slide. Set practice and competition goals. You have to set goals for the practice. Like in practice, what are the standards your athlete needs to achieve, and in the competition, what are the standards your athlete needs to achieve. One thing here you have to keep in mind, that the competition goals and the practice goals has to be different. The practice goals, you may be knowing, when an athlete goes for a competition, एक athlete जब competition के लिए जाता है, तभी क्या होता है कि उनको बहुत सारे एस्पेक्ट होते हैं जो कि उनके परफॉर्मेंस को अफेक्ट करते हैं. जैसे कि बहुत सारे साइकोलॉजिकल फैक्टर होते हैं जो कि उनके परफॉर्मेंस को अफेक्ट करते हैं. बट those competition factors are absent or not present during the practice. So by keeping all these things, you have to set practice and competition goals. Then you have to record the goals systematically. Then develop goal achievement strategies. You have to develop different strategies how to help your athlete to achieve the goal. Consider the participants' personality and motivation. Yes, of course, you have to give consideration to the personality of your athlete and the level of motivation of your athlete. If your athlete is the level of motivation of your athlete is low, then you have to work on different guidelines. You have to work on different criteria to enhance your athlete's motivation. Foster an individual's goal commitment. This goal commitment, the problem in the goal commitment comes in specifically I have seen in higher education schools, right, wherein the students are so much committed towards their professional career or academic career. That time what happens, they even though they are willing to participate or willing to give their best in towards games and sports, still they are not able to give, because their commitment towards the goal becomes very unstable or becomes very low. Provide goal support. You have to help your athlete to setting up goals. You have to review the status of the goal that you have set earlier. आपने पहले जो गोल बनाया था उसका प्रेजेंट स्टेटस क्या है, हाउ फार योर एथलीट हैज अचीव्ड, वेदर देयर इज एन इंजरी. जहां पे इंजरी होगा और कोई भी सेटबैक्स होगा, कोई भी प्रॉब्लम होगा, आपको फिर क्या करना पड़ेगा कि आपको गोल को थोड़ा मॉडिफाई करना पड़ेगा, एंड देयर बाय प्रोवाइडिंग गोल सपोर्ट टू योर एथलीट. Provide evaluation of and feedback about the goals. This evaluation and feedback about the goals is very much important. As a coach, as a physical education teacher, you must provide a feedback to your athlete. You must provide a kind of evaluation, how far he is achieving, how he is doing, whether he is able to achieve the targets that has been fixed earlier. So all these points you have to keep in mind when you are setting goals. So these are the different principles of goal setting. Next slide, please. Yeah, on the top left corner, if you have seen, I just wanted to show this diagram to everybody. See here, the performance, there is a comparison between performance and your goal setting. See, whenever you have set up a goal, the performance, and accordingly you have to arrange your training, you have to arrange your all the activities, all physical activities that you are doing, you have to change everything, because you have fixed up a goal, and now is the time you have to work, you have to go all out so that you can achieve it within given period of time. So when there is a goal, I mean you are doing everything, everything is going perfect, so what happens, suddenly you get an injury आप when your athlete is injured, तो तभी आपको क्या करना पड़ेगा, immediately you have to give him time, you have to take him away from the physical activity, and once you take him away from the physical activity, then what happens, the physical level or the or all those physical fitness level of your athlete will certainly go down, right? So thereby what happens, when the physical fitness level of your athlete goes down, when he comes or recovers from the injury, when the physical fitness level is down, he cannot continue with the similar kind of goal that has been fixed earlier. So now is the time, what you have to do is you have to adjust or modify the goal, right? The objective will remain the same, but the procedure, all how you are going to achieve that goal, you know, that you need to break it down into few stages, like you may like adjusted goal 1, adjusted goal 2, original goal, and ultimate goal. So this is how you should progress when your athlete is injured, or he is facing some kind of emotional problems or maybe psychological problems. You should take him away from the physical activity, we should give him some time for recovery, then again, you know, focusing on the ultimate goal. But the difference is you have to now break down your goal setting program into 3, 4, or 5, whatever way it is possible. Again, on the right hand side, it is said you should, whenever you are planning the goal or setting the goal, you know, you should set your goals smart. What is the meaning of smart? Smart is S for specific, that we have studied earlier in the previous slides. You should always set a specific goal. Measurable goal should be quantifiable, you should be able to measure in the, when you are progressing, you know, you should be able to measure like how far you have achieved or what is the progress of your goal setting. Then action oriented goal should indicate something that needs to be done. Realistic, I told you. Then timely means it has to have a time, like within this period of time this much goal has to be achieved. Within a month this is a goal has to achieve. Within a year this is the goal has to achieve. So there has to be always a time limit, right? Self determined, that means this is a very important point. Goals should be set by or have input from the participant, right? So this is not your goal. Let me tell you, this should not be your goal. You as a teacher or as a coach, you know, you should just be helping your athlete to fix up a goal, but you should not be setting a goal for your own self, because when you ignore your athlete and set a goal for himself, then it is your goal, not his goal. So one thing you need to realize here is, whenever you are setting a goal for your athlete, you have to understand your athlete and you have to take your athlete into consideration while preparing goals for him or while setting goals for him. Next slide, please. Yes. This is another thing, attentional focus or concentration. This ये सबसे ज़्यादा, you know, this is a topic which is, you know, most spoken among or most discussed among our fellow physical education teachers and coaches. Because whenever, most of the times I heard from the physical education teacher, सर मेरा athlete को आप थोड़ा कुछ करा दो जो कि थोड़ा concentration उसका अच्छा हो जाए. वो बंदा बिल्कुल concentrate नहीं कर पा रहा है. You know, sir, my athlete is, he is trying, but you know, he is not able to concentrate. Once he goes, you know, once he goes away from the physical, you know, from the ground, he has no concern with the games and sports. He is not focused. So my fellow physical education teachers and coaches, we need to understand the meaning of concentration first, and what are the different kinds of you know, concentration abilities that a human being having. And when you go to a doctor, you know, a doctor understands the problem, then only he can prescribe. So similarly, we will also understand what are the you know, this attentional problems that an athlete can come across. So thereby we will find out a solution. First, let us understand what is concentration. Concentration is the ability to maintain focus on relevant environmental cues. Now there are around 1,300 to 300 people, you know, attending to this class. But now if I ask you this question, you are listening to my voice. Whatever I am saying, you are able to hear. But isn't there anything else which is happening around you? Isn't there anything else which is happening around you? There are so many things happening around you, but you are paying attention. You are listening to me. That means you are focusing, or you are trying to guide all your sense organs, or all your this attention towards my voice, or towards the voice, or towards this class, right? So when you start paying attention to those environmental cues which you are interested in, so this complete procedure is called as concentration. When the environment changes rapidly, at the same time attentional focus must also change rapidly, right? So thinking of the past or the future raises irrelevant cues that often lead to performance errors. आपको क्या करना चाहिए, जैसे कि इन द गेम ऑफ फुटबॉल, आप फुटबॉल में जैसे आप सब जानते होंगे, इन ईच टीम देयर आर 11 players, right? So all total at any given point of time, there may be 22 players on the ground. So what you have to do is you have to pay attention, you have to understand the movement of your own teammate, and at the same time you have to understand the movement pattern or the strategy of your opponent. So what happens, your concentration ability there should change frequently, right? When you are not able to adapt to the changes on the ground, then what happens, you will have some kind of problems in concentrating or paying your attention to different informations or different cues of that sports environment, right? So this what happens, there are different kinds of concentration. On the basis of width, they are divided into broad and narrow. On the basis of direction, they are divided into external and internal. So I will just give you two examples for broad and narrow attention, or broad and narrow concentration. Thereby you will understand it in a better way. What happens when you are again, I'll give you an example from the field of football. When you are playing football, you have to pay attention to your teammate, and at the same time you have to focus on the movement pattern of your opponent. So what happens, at the same point, at an instant point of time, you have to have concentration on many of the teammates. Maybe there are 10-12 people you have to focus on. So that is a kind of broad attention which is used to rapidly assess a situation. A football quarterback rapidly assesses the positioning of the defensive backs. And in case of narrow concentration, what happens in case of narrow concentration, like for an example, in billiards, you have to pay attention only to that particular ball, right? So similar kind of example can be your golf, wherein your focus has to be so much narrowed, and your focus has to be pinpointed, or concentration has to be pinpointed on an object which is very small, and thereby your nature or your the kind of concentration that you use here is narrow. Okay, so on the basis of direction also, there are external and there are internal. This external kind of concentration is used when this external kind of concentration is used when there are different kinds of when you are interested to focus exclusively on one of the two external cues, then that is your external concentration. And internal concentration is when you are trying to focus on within you. Like, so you might have seen there are some athletes when they go about performing, or when they go for long jump, or maybe for triple jump, they close their eyes, they take a breath, they listen to themselves, they try to understand their body functionings, and then only they go for their trial. Right. So on the basis of this width and direction, so concentration is divided into 4 types. On the basis of width, broad and narrow. On the basis of direction, external and internal. Next slide, please. Yeah, as I told you, as a doctor, doctor, what happens when we go to a doctor? He finds out what are the signs and symptoms that we have. So on the basis of the signs and symptoms, he tries to diagnose, and on the basis of diagnosis again, he prescribes the medicine. So here what happens, we need to understand what are the attentional problems that an athlete or maybe a student who is participating in physical activity come across. See, there are again 2 classification of these attentional problems. One is internal distractor, the second one is external distractors. So external distractors are visual distractors and auditory distractors. But today we are not going to discuss about that, because external distractors cannot be, it is very difficult to control, because can you control the noise coming from the audience in a stadium? No, it's very difficult, right? Can you, so we'll today in this presentation we are not going to discuss about our external distractors, rather we are going to focus on our internal distractors. First one is attending to the past events. Sometimes what happens, you know, when an athlete is injured, suppose when while doing long jump an athlete was badly injured and he got a very bad, you know, ankle twist, right? So that experience, that painful experience will remain in the mind of the athlete for a long period of time, right? So every time when he is going for a long jump, you know, he will be conscious, he will be very much concerned about his jump, about his technique, and thereby what will happen is when you go on thinking about your past experiences, or it may be good, it may be bad, when you go on thinking about your past experiences, you know, that will affect your sports performance. So that is why you need to, as a coach or as a trainer, as a physical education teacher, you need to find out a solution to this problem, and you need to talk to your athlete to understand whether he is trapped in this attending to past events as a distractor. Okay, now we'll move on to the second point. Second point is attending to future events. Yes, when I mean, so many times it happened with me also when I was participating, I mean, when I was participating in my college days. Many of the times what happens, I was a discus thrower. So when I go for discus throw, you know, there are 6 chances given. So after the fast 3 throws, you know, there is a reshuffling, then again you are given 3 more chances. So after the reshuffling, you know, if I am leading, then I used to be very happy. I cannot stop thinking about, you know, I'm standing in the victory podium and, you know, receiving gold medal. But what used to happen is after next 3 more trials, you know, the every position is changed, because I mean, after the competition, I feel that I could have done better if I had not paid attention to my future, to my if I had a control on my thinking. So what happens whenever you are attending to a future event which has not occurred yet, that also has an impact on your attention and concentration. Third thing, choking under pressure. How many of you have seen the match between Brazil and Germany in the way back in 2014? That's a very good example of choking under pressure. The many of the times, you know, our coaches or maybe our physical education and trainers, you know, they believe that when a player or when a team is playing in the home ground, that becomes an advantage to them. But that is not always true, right? Why that is not always true? When your team is winning or when your team is leading or performing in a better way, that time what happens, you know, the home advantage is a real advantage. When if your player is playing at home and he is doing good, then the home this home situations, you know, will give a strong support to this performance. But when you are playing or when your athlete is playing in a condition in his hometown and he is not performing well, then what will happen is the amount of pressure on your team will be immense, and ultimately what will happen, your team or your that individual athlete will choke under that pressure. That is also another internal distractor. Next thing is over analyzing body mechanics. That this means being over concerned about the skills, the techniques, or you know, you should be concerned, but over concerning of all these body mechanics should be avoided. Fatigue, of course, if your athlete is tired, if your athlete is not properly recovered before the competition, then also this will contribute to distractions. Then inadequate motivation, I discussed about this point in the earlier slides. So now we have understood what is concentration, how many types of concentrations are there, and what are the different attentional problems. First one is there are few internal distractors, and again there are few external distractors. We discussed about all the internal distractors. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is there, though there are, you know, many techniques, you know, to enhance your concentration. Why I have told you this self talk? Because this is a technique which can be used by the physical education teachers and our coaches very effectively and without any cost factor involved, right? So you just see here, one lady is playing tennis and another person is injured and taking rest. So when a player is when a good player is playing tennis and he misses a very easy shot in tennis, so there are 2 options he can express his anger. First one is he can just say to himself that what an idiot I am, I will never win now. He will start cursing himself. And at the second time what happens, And this, at the second place, keep your eyes on the ball. This match is not yet over. That means at one place you are demotivating yourself. You are fixing up limit. You are just saying yourself that you cannot do it anymore. But at the second instance, what you are saying is you are motivating yourself. You are just telling yourself to take care of your mistakes, to focus on the game. See, the same player is using two different ways to talk to himself or herself. So as a coach, what you have to do is you have to be very careful if your athlete is talking to himself in a negative manner. If it is so, then what you have to do is you have to find out certain means and methods. You need to talk to your athletes. You need to talk to your psychologist if he is available. You need to change this negative self-talks to positive self-talk. Because negative self-talks will always fix a limit. Negative self-talks will demotivate you, will pull you down, will make you more aggressive. Thereby, you will not be able to focus on the game. But at the same time, if you are focusing on the positive self-talk, it will motivate your athlete. It will bring them to the game. Even if they are doing some mistakes, they will still be focused. Still, there are chances of winning your individual or team championship. Second example also, I'll never get back in the starting lineup. This type of injury just takes time to heal. So I need to continue to work hard. So there are, different ways or different approach, certain kind of mistakes or some kind of incidents or injuries in our athlete's life. But when it becomes negative, it is the role of the physical education teacher, coaches, or the trainers to bring them back to the positive side. And we need to convert this negative self-talks to positive self-talk, thereby enhancing our concentration. Next. Yeah, these are also different methods of enhancing concentration, on-field methods, right? These are the techniques which can be used without any cost factor involved, because I know the physical education teachers, if I go on giving them big equipment, use this, finance is always a factor for the physical education teachers, trainers, and the coaches, So if I can make certain this on-field techniques available to you, then it will be more fruitful. That's why I have added 8 on-field techniques. Let us discuss. First one is use of simulation practice. This simulation practice, what happens, this is like you will, whenever your athlete is practicing on the ground, you will create a real game-like situation for your athlete. Like for an example, if you know that your athlete is going to play under a lot of pressure, where the number of spectators will be so much is very high, or the crowd or the noise will be very high. So what you can do is artificially you can put some speakers, you can play some noise of crowd cheering, and under that circumstances you can make your athletes practice. And thereby what will happen, when your athlete goes to the real competition, he will not have anything new. I mean, all these things, whatever things he is going to face in the real competition, he has already undergone practice under the similar kind of situations on the ground. Use of keywords. Keywords means important words, like important words means like positive words. For an example, you can say that no problem, let me get back, fight. So all these, there are very important words, that you can decide when you can talk to your athlete, and you can tell your athlete to use those keywords. Do you know in 2008 Olympics, the the swimming team of Malaysia, they recorded a song or a message before even they came for the Olympic venue. They recorded the message, and throughout their stay in that Olympic village, they were listening to that message again and again. By using that, what happens, you have always, when you are making use of these keywords, you are always keeping them on toes, you are keeping them always motivated, and you are reminding them what are their goals and what they have to do to achieve them. Then third point is use non-judgmental thinking. Non-judgmental thinking means what happens whenever your athlete is doing good, or whenever your athlete is doing bad, don't just directly say that you are useless, you are good for nothing. No, this kind of words you should avoid. What you can do is you should call your athlete, you can talk to him, there is still a scope of improvement, this is where you are doing mistake. So you should always avoid this non-judgmental thinking. Establish routines, develop competition plans. Yes, of course, this is important. Then develop eye control, monitor yourself, overlearn the skills. So these are, a few different skills you need to use to enhance the concentration. Next point. Next slide. Next slide, please. Yeah, aggression in sports. Next slide. Yeah, this is another thing, we need to, there are different types of aggression, before going to to the types of aggression, let us understand what is aggression. The meaning of aggression is any kind of behavior that is intended to harm your athlete or to injure your athlete. Let it be your physical harm, let it be your psychological harm, any kind of harm which is, targeted to your athlete, any kind of behavior which is targeted towards your athlete to cause harm. That harm may be physical or maybe mental. So those kind of behavior is called as aggression. Now, again, there are different kinds of aggression. Now, if I ask you this question, you might have seen, if a boxer, two boxers punching each other, to gain point and to win the bout. So in that case, what happens? You may ask that then what kind of aggression that is. So let us find out what are the different types of aggression. After that, we'll discuss about that. So the aggression is divided into two different types. First one is hostile aggression. Second one is instrumental aggression. Hostile aggression means what happens when your athlete, when the behavior when the target of your athlete is to cause harm, cause harm to another athlete. That kind of behavior is called as hostile aggression. Your ultimate aim or the ultimate goal is to harm somebody. Suppose while playing, while you are playing a game of football, while tackling the ball, the opponent just kicked on your leg. It may be by mistake, but he kicked on your leg, and you were badly injured. So what happens? Your target, now you are angry. You have only one. You forgot everything, all the objective and goals of your match. You forgot that you have to win this match. Now only target of yours is just to cause harm, और उसका बस उसने मेरे पैर पे लात मारा है, मुझे उसका पैर तोड़ना है. So this अभी क्या है? अभी आपका एम गेम खेलना नहीं है. अभी आपका एम गेम जीतना नहीं है. अभी आपका एम है उसका पैर कैसे मुझे तोड़ना है. उसने मेरे पैर पे लात मारा है, मुझे उसके पैर पे लात मार रहा है. So this kind of aggression or this kind of aggressive behavior is called as hostile aggression. Second thing is instrumental aggression. Instrumental aggression में क्या है कि यहाँ पे intention किसी को हानि पहुंचाने का intention तो है ही, but वो ultimate intention नहीं है. वो just किसी को हानि पहुंचा के हमें गेम जीतना is the ultimate aim. जैसे कि for an example, suppose if you come to know that जैसे कि in a match of क्रिकेट का मैच चल रहा है, आपको समझ में, आप एक फास्ट बॉलर हैं, आपको समझ में आ गया कि जो बंदा अभी बैटिंग करने के लिए आया है, अगर वो बंदा वहां पे टिक गया तो पूरा मैच हम हार जाएंगे. तो तभी आप क्या करते हैं? तभी आप जानबूझ के ऐसा एक बाउंसर डालते हैं जो कि जाके उसके सर पे लगता है और वो रिटायर्ड हर्ट हो जाता है और वो गेम से बाहर हो जाता है. अभी क्या है? अभी आप उसको हानि पहुंचाना आपका अल्टीमेट एम नहीं था. आपका अल्टीमेट एम था गेम जीतना, बट किसी को हानि पहुंचा के. ठीक है, बट आपका हॉस्टाइल एग्रेशन में क्या था? गेम जीतना नहीं था. हॉस्टाइल एग्रेशन में था बस उसको हानि पहुंचाना है, उसको इंजोर्ड करना है. बट इंस्ट्रूमेंटल एग्रेशन में क्या है? उसको हानि पहुंचाना है और उसको हानि पहुंचा के हमें गेम जीतना है. राइट? सो these are the main difference between hostile aggression and instrumental aggression. Next slide please. Now how to control the aggression? हम aggression को कैसे कंट्रोल करेंगे? Right? There are different methods. You have to promote assertiveness, not aggressiveness among your athletes. Yes, assertiveness. Let me explain what is assertiveness. Assertiveness is you have to make your presence feel. आपको जैसे कि ऑस्ट्रेलियन टीम होता है, जैसे कि फॉर एन एग्जांपल इन क्रिकेट में ऑस्ट्रेलियन टीम होता है. ऑस्ट्रेलियन टीम इज नॉट वेरी एग्रेसिव, दे आर assertive. वो बाय मींस ऑफ डिस्प्लेइंग बेटर स्किल दिखा के, बेटर अच्छा बॉलिंग करके, अच्छा बैटिंग, बढ़िया फील्डिंग करके जो ओपोनेंट के मन में एक डर पैदा करना, राइट? उसको बोलते हैं एजर्टिवनेस. जैसे कि एजर्टिवनेस का मतलब है, जैसे कि एक सिंपल वर्ड में बोल सकते हैं, गेम में डोमिनेट करना, उसको हम बोलते हैं एजर्टिवनेस. इन एनी मीन्स आप अच्छा टेक्निक दिखा के, अच्छा फील्डिंग करके, अच्छे से रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस को मैनिपुलेट करके किसी भी गेम में आप जैसे जब डोमिनेट करके रहते हैं, उसको हम बोलते हैं एजर्टिवनेस. सो यू नीड टू, एज ए कोच, एज ए फिजिकल एजुकेशन टीचर, यू नीड टू प्रमोट एजर्टिवनेस, नॉट एग्रेसिवनेस ऑन योर एथलीट. आपको प्रमोट ही नहीं करना चाहिए. अगर किसी को कोई लड़ाई झगड़ा होता है, मैंने बहुत सारे कोचेस को देखा है, दे इवन दे प्रमोट दिस लड़ाई झगड़ा. दे बोलते हैं कि नहीं, तुम्हें एग्रेसिव होना चाहिए, मैच में जीतने के लिए एग्रेसिव होना चाहिए. नहीं, बिल्कुल नहीं. आपको एग्रेसिव होने की जरूरत नहीं है, रादर आपको एजर्टिव होना चाहिए. आपको रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन जानना है अच्छे से, आपका फिटनेस बढ़ाना है, आपका स्किल्स एंड टेक्निक्स बढ़ाना है, आपको इस पे फोकस करना है. आपको ये कभी नहीं, आपके एथलीट को ये कभी नहीं बताना है कि आपको एग्रेसिव होना है, आपको हर चीज में एग्रेसिव होने की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. एथलीट्स इन्वॉल्व इन एग्रेसिव एक्ट शुड बी सीवियरली पनिश्ड, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है. जो भी एथलीट आपको ऐसे इसमें जो भी आपके एथलीट्स हैं जो कि एग्रेसिव एक्ट में इन्वॉल्व हैं, उनको सीवियरली दे शुड बी पनिश्ड, नो मर्सी, कोई भी मर्सी नहीं होना चाहिए. क्योंकि अगर आप एक बार उसको आप इसको एक्सक्यूज देंगे तो नेक्स्ट टाइम आल्सो ही विल डू सेम काइंड ऑफ बिहेवियर एंड दैट विल बी अगेन प्रॉब्लमेटिक फॉर यू. So you have to be very careful, you have to be very careful, and so that you are controlling the aggressive act of your behavior, act of your athletes. Coaches promoting the aggressive act should not be spared either. I think there is a provision of a red card. You correct me if I am wrong, because I am not from the game of football. There is a provision, I think, to give a red card to the coach, right? If the coach's behavior is aggressive or is not up to the mark, he also should be taken into this. He also should be given some kind of punishment, and any kind of aggressive act from the coaches should not be tolerated, and they should be punished accordingly. Official aggression also should be prevented. Many of the times, especially in the game of football and ice hockey, I have seen sometimes these officials also get angry. They also start punching. They also start hitting the athletes. That's also not correct, and that also should be avoided by means of giving certain kind of your feedback or training or workshop to your athletes, to your officials and these referees. Coping skills to deal with the aggression should be practiced. There are different coping skills. There are different coping skills which has to be practiced, which can be practiced to reduce aggression. Today, let us not discuss about that topic because already I am running ahead of time. Next slide, please. Arousal regulation. Next slide. Yeah, there are this anxiety is a negative emotional state characterized by nervousness, worry, apprehension, and associated with activation or arousal of the body. See, this anxiety is a negative kind of emotional state. So once it is negative, you should try your level best to avoid this kind of anxiety. Yes, arousal should be there. And what is arousal? We are going to study in the next slides. But anxiety at any means should be avoided, as it is a negative state of mind and it has a negative relations with your sports performance. So there are different kinds of anxiety. On the basis of the components that are involved in anxiety, they are categorized into two. First one is your cognitive anxiety. So second one is your somatic anxiety. So when you are under anxiety, anxiety face, when you are anxious, what happens? There are certain physiological changes. There are certain cognitive changes. There are certain physical changes. So what are the any changes that are cognitive or mental by nature will come under your cognitive anxiety component, and those changes in you which is due to your anxiety, any physical changes will be coming under your physical component. Next slide, please. Yeah, trait versus state anxiety. Trait and state, just simply I'll in very simple words I'll just tell you. Trait का मतलब है when by personality or by nature you are anxious, right? कोई भी situation आता है, not only in sports, कोई भी situation आता है, जैसे कि आपने चाबी कहीं घुमा दिया, आप बिल्कुल एकदम एंजाइटी में आ जाते हो. आपको ये पता चला कि आपका ये क्लास था, आप लेट आ गए हो, एकदम आप एंजाइटी में आ जाते हो, मतलब एंशियस हो जाते हो, तो आप टेंशन में आ जाते हो. तो ये जो ट्रेट है, दिस व्हेन एन इंडिविजुअल्स कैरेक्टरिस्टिक इज लाइक दैट, जिसमें कि उनके पर्सनालिटी में एंशियस होना या द पीपल हु ऑल आर मोर एंशियस बाय बॉर्न, तो उनको बोलते हैं, उस टाइप ऑफ एंजाइटी को हम बोलते हैं कि ट्रेट एंजाइटी. और स्टेट एंजाइटी जो है, दीज आर सिचुएशन स्पेसिफिक, राइट? तो स्टेट एंजाइटी में क्या होता है? इट्स ए टेम्पररी एवर चेंजिंग इमोशनल स्टेट of subjective, consciously perceived feelings of apprehension and tension associated with activation of the autonomic nervous system. State anxiety our state anxiety is situation specific, and trait anxiety is a characteristics of our personality, and thereby an individual is anxious by born. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is a very important slide, which you need to understand. There are, see here what happens, we have done a comparison between three different kind of athletes: athlete A, athlete B, athlete C. When state this level of anxiety, or this is level of arousal, it should be actually, when the level of arousal of athlete A is low, he is giving his best performance. And if you see the athlete B, when the level of arousal is moderate, he is giving his best performance. And if you see the level of arousal of the athlete C, it is high, and at this condition he is giving the best performance. So if you see this, if you see this slide, so the level of arousal for giving best performance varies from individual to individual. It's not the same. You should not say gone those days when we were saying that the level of arousal should be optimum to give best performance. No, it's not correct anymore. You need to understand the performance characteristics of an individual or of your individual athlete. You need to understand how your athlete is able to give his best performance and at which level of arousal. When he is relaxed, whether he is giving best performance, or whether he is optimally tensed, he is giving best performance, or he is when highly aroused, is giving best performance. And by understanding that, or by realizing that, you have to make sure that just prior to the competition, or when your athlete is going for warm up, you have to bring your athlete, or you have to teach your athlete certain skills by using which he can bring his arousal level to a point of to a point so that he can give his best performance. Next slide, please. Yeah, these are various anxiety reduction techniques. Progressive muscle relaxation. This is there is a am I audible, sir? All of you? Am I audible, sir?
Can hear you.
Okay.
Carry on.
Sir. Yeah, thank you. Progressive muscle relaxation. What happens in progressive muscle relaxation? What we do is we try to relax all our big muscles. Those are involved in physical activity and sports. Or we try to relax all the big muscles, starting from the toe till our head. Right? We go first. We go for calf muscles, then hamstring, then quadricep, then lower back, then abdominal, then upper back, then both the hands, then neck, then chin, then head. We try to relax. First we contract, then relax, then we contract, then we relax. So we can use this technique for reduce anxiety. Second thing is breath control. Yes, there are two different kinds of breathing. First one is abdominal breathing, second one is your chest breathing. If your athlete is going for chest breathing, you should immediately understand that your athlete is under immense pressure or immense tension. So you have to convert that thing into abdominal breathing. Abdominal breathing, when an individual is breathing abdominally, or when the abdominal breathing is going on, then he is relaxed, and when chest breathing is going on, he is tensed. Biofeedback, again, this is a kind of machine which can be used to send feedback about the relaxation status of our muscles, which can be displayed in a computer monitor, by using which our athlete we can teach our athlete how to reduce the anxiety. Next one is autogenic training. Next one is stress management training, and next one is hypnosis. Abdominal breathing. Abdominal breathing is like when we are pushing our diaphragm. When we are pushing our diaphragm down, what happens? That causes a bulge in the abdomen, right? So that kind of breathing is called as your abdominal breathing. And when your athlete is doing that kind of breathing, you should understand he is relaxed. But when he is not allowing his abdomen to push, diaphragm to push down, right? He is willingly holding it tight. So that means he is under a lot of pressure. He is under a lot of anxiety. You should understand. You should realize that immediately, and you should go for all these kind of things. Next slide, please. Yeah, thank you so much. We have come to the summarization section. See, for continuity in sports for an athlete, the coach and all the physical education teachers and trainers that present here, you must understand and do the following things. You need to motivate your athlete. That is your topmost and ultimate objective. You need to do right goal setting, right? You need to help your athletes to concentrate better. They need to control the aggression also. And at last but not the least, you should make him or her feel comfortable and enjoy the game. That should be the ultimate aim. And with this, we end the class today. Now the class is open for discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asutosh, for the very educative session we had. and I'm sure all of us will go back with something valuable from your presentation. Before I want you to go through this, the question section, there's one question I would like to ask you. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
You talk about this attention and concentration. Can you, will it be possible to differentiate between attention and concentration for the participants?
So yes, sir, there is the difference can be, they can be differentiated actually, sir. Attention is like, sir, attention is the just prior stage of concentration actually. So when we are using our different sense organs, like all the 5 sense organs, to pay attention to to the informations that are available to in our surroundings. That is the process of attention. And immediately after that, so what happens, the thing which we have paid attention is immediately started to be analyzed by the brain. And so that is the process of actually concentration.
Okay.
When we are analyzing, we are concentrating, and when we are just paying, and when we are engaging all our sense organs to attend or to understand or to accept the informations in our surrounding, that process is attention.
So in other words, attention means getting aware about the situation, the surrounding, and concentration is trying to take advantage of the surrounding, sort of, right?
Yes, sir. When we try to start understanding that information, that is concentration.
Will it be possible to go through this the question section box, please? From there.
Yes, sir. I can see that.
Just whatever,
yes, sir,
one or two or three questions which you feel it's relevant, you can just go through it instead of me always asking, because sometimes the network distraction is there. Okay. Please
so
carry on.
there is a question from Sri Sailendra Rawat, who is asking this: due to tough competition at a present time, how a coach improve mind reaction or mental alertness of a player to perform well? Okay, see the problem happens. There is a section which is called actually psychological skill training. Now in the modern age of sports training, the psychological skill training has become a part of your periodization program. So in a week, at least for a day, or at least 1 or 2 sessions can be given for the psychological skill training. So if you are sending your athlete for psychological skill training, thereby what will happen is he will learn different skills or different methods that he can use in the competition, so that he can have better control over the distractions. He can have a better focus on the games and sports, and thereby giving his best performance. So my point here is, or my answer to this question is, you need to expose your athlete for the psychological skill training procedure, because when he goes for a training, or when he goes for performance into the playing arena, he's all alone there. So if he knows, if he has mastered the techniques of psychological ability or psychological skill training, like imagery, breathing technique, and stress management techniques, so all these things he can use. So you have to equip your athlete with all these things before he goes for a tough competition.
Coach, can I just ask you a question?
Sure, sir, please.
Yeah. See, actually, one part of the continuity in sport is also about, so there are 2 things. One is dropout at a school level. So your children tend to drop when they're in class 10th, 11th, 12th. Okay, so there is one. And second aspect of continuity in sport is sports as a lifelong activity. Okay, physical fitness and active lifestyle. So what are the 2-3 things that you would suggest for continuity in sports? One from a school point of view, so that you are every day participating in something, and from a lifelong participation point of view.
Yeah, sir, this is a very valid question, sir, which you have raised actually. I would like to address on this question. Sir, what is happening in the present scenario is our physical education teachers in school, or our coaches who are working in school scenario, they are behind. Actually, I don't blame them, but they are behind, medals, certificates, laurels, and all those things. So they are, giving so much of importance towards the sports performance, that the child or the student, when he becomes to the national level or to the state level, he has already given his best performance, so he is burnt out. So now what we can do is, we need to promote instead of focusing so much on the performance or the outcome at an earlier stage, what we can do is we can rather go for multilateral development. Right, we can just focus on a base, on providing a base of physical fitness or maybe a better health, so that we have a huge pool of talents available from which we can pick up the talents at a later stage or maybe in future. That is answering to your questions, how we can promote the how we can prevent the dropout rate among the schools, in the schools.
Right.
Answer coming down to the questions which you asked, how we can promote the lifelong participation in physical activity and sports. That has to be a continuous process, and it is not only the responsibility of the physical education and teachers. This is a responsibility of the parents also. So as a physical education teacher, I would suggest that we need to spread an awareness among the parents, among the school, among the other teachers of the school. We have to make them realize the importance of this physical activity or this sports in their day-to-day life. But another thing also, sir, I would like to bring to your knowledge, this research studies, they show that when the parents are involved into regular physical activity and sports, the probability or the chance of the students getting involved into active physical activity or active sports is very high. So sir, this is my answer to your question.
Right. Okay. Uh, I think so. Then there are some questions around how do you control players during game aggression, because that also because from continuity of sports, I've seen that if we are promoting a couple of athletes who are very aggressive, it actually puts off the other students, and they tend to quit, because if you are actually supporting. So from that point of view, how do you control players during games aggression and the positive impact of that on other athletes?
Sir, as I told you, sir, this aggressive behavior of the athlete has to be controlled, not immediately on the ground. It has to be controlled. This control has to begin from the moment they are involved in training and practice. Sir, as a coach, you have to be very democratic. Yes, that kind of leadership can always bring out the best result, but at the same time you have to be very strict towards the aggressive behavior of your players, of any kind of players. Now I was asked a question like, if you are the coach of a basketball team wherein the best player of your team is most aggressive, how do you handle this situation? Actually, sir, in that particular situation, you have to take a tough call. You have to you have to take some action. You have to, maybe you can talk to him. You can just find out what is the reason why he's aggressive. If it is required, you can just send him for some psychological counseling sessions, and you need to find out, sir, basically what is the reason why he is aggressive. Then only, sir, we can just find out a solution. And if you are asking me the questions in the game scenario, how can we as a coach control the aggressive behavior? Yes, we can just immediately bring him out of the competition. We can allow him to calm down. We can allow him to relax. We can just ask him to go for deep breathing techniques. Just go for 2-3 anxiety reduction techniques, and again he is ready. We can send him back to the ground.
Okay, one more question by Shailendra Rawat. He is saying that as a coach, how do you improve the mind alertness of players to perform well? Because that also helps in terms of continuity. A lot of dropout is all because of mental aspects.
Sir, Sri Shailendra Rawat sir's question, sir, I have answered. Due to tough competition at the present time, how a coach improve mind reaction or mental alertness of player to perform well?
Right. I mean, if you could elaborate on the importance of mental aspect, because that would be, I think that's a very important aspect of drop down. So.
See, as I told you, sir, when the competition is tough, during the tough competitions, even the best of the players, they have lost their mind. They have, if you remember the situation of this Zidane, who headbutt another player. Even in tough situations, the best of the players, they have lost their mind, mental control, and thereby has given worst performance. So as I told you, the training has to begin well before the competition. We need to give a time period. The psychological skill training has to be included in the annual training program. So at least in a week, we need to have at least one session for the athletes those who are having this kind of psychological issues. So one thing, sir, which we have to make our athlete understand, that the psychological consultation is not, it is nothing abnormal. This is something to help you out so that you can have better control on your games and sports, and you can give the best performance. So the psychological skill training has to be taught, and we have to equip them with various psychological techniques which they can use during the competitions, so that they can focus more on the performance and give best result.
Right.
Thank you.
Usha ma'am is there.
I think Usha madam have some announcement to make.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Dr. Ashutosh, well done. It was a wonderful session.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
And,
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, dear Sujit, Dr. Burrell, and my dear friends. It's indeed nice to see you all participating actively. But I'd like to inform you that we've been having sessions. Besides these, we have international speakers, and we have been trying a level best to get speakers from across the world. For the information of the participants, we have said that there are about 15,000 participants have registered, and what we find is the number of participants who are joining the evening session is very little. And please see that at least this is just a week. Please do participate in the evening session at 5 o'clock. In future, I may not be in a position to call for such international experts. We have a very renowned expert today, Walter Ho. And also we have tomorrow at 12:30 a session by Gopi Chand sir. Please make it a point of attending the session, because the feedback on the number definitely reaches the authority. So I request that you please attend that. And we also have a very high profile, the most high profile speaker coming on 26th. That is of the German Olympic delegation. And with great difficulty, we could get such speakers. Please do attend. And if there is a language problem, we are going to translate that again. So this is just a request. Maybe in future, we may not get such speakers. So I'm putting it again. It is only this week. Please see that besides a regular session, 5 to 6, please attend. Otherwise, the speakers might think that I just said that the number of participants are comparatively lesser. So that can be a problem. So thank you so much. I thank you, Burrell. Thank you.
Before we end up the session, let me once again thank Dr. Ashutosh Acharya for the information of the participants who are still here. Dr. Ashutosh Acharya is one individual who has a very keen interest in the field of physical education and sports, a very updated and knowledgeable individual. And above all, I find him as someone who seeks opportunity to learn more and more. And you are going to hear a lot about him in the very near futures. And above all, I'm quite proud he happened to be a student of mine. Thank you, participants, once again. And thank you, Ashutosh, for the wonderful
Thank you so
session.
much, sir. It's my honor. Thank you so much, sir.
Mr. Sujit, any more announcement to make?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ashutosh. I think very useful session for everyone. So
Thank
we
you
have
so
a session at 5 o'clock today, a gap of actual development PE and perpetual differences by PE professionals. So this is basically what you think and what you get. So there's a gap between planning and delivery. And so this is by Walter King, Vice President in Education in ICSSPE, and he is from Macau, University of Macau. So see you at 5 o'clock today, 4:30 if you could join. The webinar ID is there. You can also join through the international expert session link. Thank you so much. See you in the evening. Thank you, Ashutosh.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.